The impudence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of those knuckleheads of liberty podcasters, daring to voice opinions outside the mainstream of accepted thought. Listen if you dare. It's angry, it's funny, it's even sometimes sad, but it's always based on freedom and justice, as you will see. Here's our host, Jason McPhee.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. We are coming at you on June 22nd, 2022. Boy, I tell you, this has just been kind of a terrible administration, and it's got our eyes on just all kinds of things, worries and everything. But we've got something a little different for you today to sort of take your attention off that. We have Michael Schwartz from the gun owners of San Diego, or San Diego Counter Gun Owners, rather. And he is going to tell us a little bit about his organization. But before I do that, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In the upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. And my name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. And in our bottom left-hand corner, for those of you online, we have Michael Schwartz, and he is here to talk to us a little bit about his organization. So, Gun Owners of San Diego, I tell you, it's a terrible time right now for, I guess, government trying to take away our liberties. And one of the big pushes that's happening right now, it seems like, is government is trying to take away our Second Amendment rights. Today is a chance to hear from somebody who is running one of those organizations and hear a little bit about those challenges. So, Michael, do you want to tell us a little bit about your organization and some of the challenges that you guys are facing right now?
Sure. Yeah. San Diego County Gun Owners PAC is a political organization, and we focus just on Second Amendment issues and just on the local level in the county of San Diego. So there are a ton of local boards and councils across the county. You know, San Diego's got 3.5 million people. That makes us bigger than about 19 different states. It's a really big county with a big population. So we have, there are 18 city councils, school boards, county boards, sheriff, a lot of local organizations that some of the state and national organizations just don't have the bandwidth to pay attention to. Meanwhile, if you look at Sacramento and you look at Washington, D.C. and the people that are serving there, most of them started out on a board or council locally somewhere. So the strategy is, let's raise enough money and people to have an effect on some of these local races, vet out the candidates, find people that are pro-Second Amendment, that'll defend our right to keep and bear arms, that'll preserve and protect the Second Amendment. Let's get them elected on these local boards and councils where we can really make a difference. So that's the idea. We're nonpartisan, and so we don't care what party they belong to, and we're single issue, which means we don't care what their stance is on any other subject. We're strictly Second Amendment.
Okay. And James, while we're talking to Michael, can we get the website up? This might help people to see where they can go and learn a little bit more about this organization. So right now it's kind of crazy times. I mean, we just had the Uvalde issue in Texas, and you see all of these infringements, I guess, of people trying to whittle away some of the Second Amendment rights. What are some of the challenges you guys are facing right now with respect to politicians, I guess, looking to grab guns?
So sure, our big, there's a couple things that we're working on. One is, of course, the election. We work really, really hard to get people elected. There's a sheriff's race in San Diego. The sheriff has a huge amount of say and authority when it comes to who gets to have a carry permit. So it's a particularly important race for us. And the candidate that we endorsed made it through the primary, and now we have to make sure that she wins in November. So that's a big challenge, something we're very focused on. That's something that actually affects public policy. You know, it's an important issue that we want to make sure that we win on. The other thing is that it just happened is the county of San Diego, the county board. Now, a lot of people don't know what a county board is. A county board is like the city council, but for the entire county. Most of the regulations that they pass are only affect the unincorporated areas, for example. They have a huge budget. They have a lot to do with, for example, they fund the sheriff's department. They have a lot to do with public health, that sort of thing. They voted 3-2 to get the sheriff's office to send them crime information. And if there was a firearm involved in a crime, their attorneys are going to investigate it and see if they can sue the gun manufacturer, the gun shop, or the distributor. So that's the next on their list, and that passed. They actually want to do that. So now it's we have to try to flip it so that it isn't a 3-2 vote. The three people that voted for that hopefully aren't reelected this year or in 2 years. And the other thing we're going to do is, of course, look into hiring an attorney to reverse that.
So Michael, I mean, there are a lot of court cases and a lot of issues that are going through the courts involving the Second Amendment. Does your your organization get involved in issues in the courts involving the Second Amendment?
We do, and it's kind of funny. The original plan really truly was almost a response to how reliant people are, especially in the gun community, on courts and on court cases. We'd gotten away from actual real activism, and everybody just said, some organization will sue them. And court cases there's a lot of harsh realities when it comes to court cases. One is they take a long time. Two is they are extremely expensive. Three is there's no guarantee that you're going to win. The court system is just as political as the political system. So there's no guarantee you're going to win. And once there's a bad decision in place, it's like moving a mountain to try to undo it.
Right.
But the biggest part of it, the biggest threat or the biggest downside, I should say, is the reality is some of the regulations that we don't like will be ruled constitutional. And that's just a harsh reality we have to deal with. So when we started San Diego County Gun Owners, we said, you know what, everybody else can sue. That's not really what we're going to do. We're going to stick to real, true activism rather than just, say, hey, let a lawyer deal with it. But in practice, we actually partnered with Firearms Policy Coalition, which is a fantastic national organization. And we are plaintiffs, or we're involved in 5 different lawsuits. We're involved in a lawsuit that has to do with getting rid of the assault weapons ban in California. There's also a safe pistol roster in California, and we're trying to get rid of that. There's a case that has to do with only being able to buy one firearm every 30 days. There's a lawsuit that has to do with adults under the age of 21 not being able to purchase firearms, certain kinds of firearms. And then there's a privacy case where the California Department of Justice is releasing gun owner information to basically publicly so that it can be studied or whatever they're going to do with it. So those are 5 lawsuits that we've been involved with. Plus we've had some amicus briefs that we're very proud of, and that's all great. We're really happy. We've had a couple of really good wins. But in our heart and soul, we're an activist organization.
This issue about the age is really, I find very fascinating, that we as a society think it's okay for to send off our young boys, 18 years and older, to war, to use a gun and to even kill someone or be killed in the process of that. But yet there are some sectors of our society think you have to be 21. I mean, we'll do this at 18, right? But
Right.
Some sectors of society think that we have to wait until they're 21 before they can even purchase a gun legally here in the United States. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and the reason it's important to gun owners, and particularly our association, is that if once you're an adult, gun owners didn't decide when people become an adult. The government decided when people become an adult, and when people, that's 18. Once you become an adult, you get all the rights an adult gets in America, and their job is to protect those rights, not regulate them, not take them away, not step on them. So if we sit back and say, well, okay, you're an adult, but the Second Amendment really isn't as much of a right as the First Amendment or the Third Amendment or the Fourth Amendment. So yeah, you can keep that away from certain adults, even though they haven't broken the law, they're not dangerous, anything like that. So the reason it's important is the Second Amendment is not a secondary right. We're not second-class citizens. It's just as important as the First Amendment. It's just as important as all your other rights. The right to vote, for example. So if the government decides, hey, you know what, you're not an adult until you're 21, okay, fine. But then 18, 19, and 20-year-olds can't be drafted. They can't vote. You can't just decide that, hey, this right is more important than that right. Therefore, we're going to keep it from some adults and not others. So that's why we're fighting back. I mean, we've ignored the issue of, well, gee, statistics say that 18, 19, and 20-year-olds are blah, 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 blah. Whatever. You decide when they're an adult. But once they're an adult, they get the right to keep and bear arms.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I guess buying alcohol would be somewhere in that mix as well.
Right. Yes. Good point. Yes, that's true. That's true.
Well, so people have asked, well, gee, what about driving or buying alcohol, that sort of thing? If there's an organization that fights for that as a right, I wish them all the best of luck. It's not really we're single issue, right? We're just worried about the Second Amendment. But I'd also ask them to examine, is driving a car a right? Is buying alcohol a right? I don't know. That's up for them to decide. Anyone could, if you have a big chunk of land and you're driving a car on your chunk of land without going on government, property, you don't need a driver's license, right? But it's just that as soon as you get on that government property, which is a road, that's when they require a license for that. So anyway, try not to get too far down in the weeds. We stay single issue, but people do draw comparisons a lot, and we say, hey, whatever, you guys decide if that's a right, if it's not a right. Go talk to organizations who advocate for drinking and advocate for whatever. But the Second Amendment is just as important as every other right, and once a person's an adult, they get it. Period.
And that's
I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that's kind of the way I think it helps to think about these things, is that at that age where you're able to bind yourself to a contract, it really doesn't matter what the issue is. That's the age where your rights apply. And so if you're 18, if we've decided that's the age, then it just seems absolutely silly that a legislator might say, okay, well, this age for that or this. And what's to stop them from looking at the other end as well, right? I mean, oh, God, you're 80. Maybe you're too old to be president. To me, it seems real dangerous to sit around and think about taking away people's rights based upon what age they are. One standard for an adult, and that should really be it.
It is, and it's a not so subtle message they're sending. They're basically saying, hey, look, you have to understand that the Second Amendment is a very dangerous right. So, no, it's not. Owning a gun's not owning a gun and not being able to defend yourself is a very dangerous situation. That's what's dangerous.
Exactly.
So we really, the not so subtle message that they're sending that, we have to somehow concede that firearms are, the boogeyman. Forget it. We don't concede that in any way. Keeping people from defending themselves, that's really dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, the government will always see firearms in the arms of the law-abiding citizen as a dangerous thing, because this is what's supposed to protect. Well, the Second Amendment is not there for hunting. It's not there for target shooting. The Second Amendment is there for us to defend ourselves, both from the criminals on the streets and from a tyrannical government. And people don't seem to understand this. And this is a real, real problem. And you're absolutely right when you say it is dangerous when we are unarmed. It is very dangerous.
Yeah. Well, Michael, one of the questions I wanted to ask you too is, there's a lot of different gun organizations out there. Mm-hmm. And one that most people are familiar with is the NRA. What kind of separates, like if somebody were looking at gun organizations, how would you distinguish yourself from an organization like the NRA?
Good question. We're fans of all the organizations. We didn't form because out of a dislike of any organization. If you're out there fighting for the Second Amendment, whatever and however you're doing it, good on you. Keep fighting hard. When we support, I'm a member of all the major ones. What we, through activism and through, roll up our sleeves, experiences, we figured out real quick that there just wasn't enough emphasis on these local boards and councils. So the politicians that state and federal organizations like NRA were dealing with, when it came time to run for office, either for a state or federal office, these politicians had already been in the political game for years. So it was really, really hard to fight against them. They already had a following. They already knew the game. They already had money. So we decided the best way to help these organizations is to make sure that these local boards and councils are full of Second Amendment supporters. So that's the big difference, is the emphasis on local local elections. The other thing is we're a PAC, a political action committee, which is just a term for a political organization. We're not a charity. We're not an educational organization. We're a political organization, which means that we can support candidates directly. That we can have candidates come talk to us. We can spend money on politics. We're in the political arena. So there are some Second Amendment organizations that simply aren't in the political arena, and which is, that's okay. I mean, that's not a complaint, but that's what makes us different. They're focusing on, for example, lawsuits. They're focusing on education, that sort of thing, or supporting, educational programs. We wanted to be right in the middle of the arena. We wanted to be responsible for getting people elected. So the fact that we're local and the fact that we're, right up to our eyeballs in politics, that's what makes us different. That's what differentiates us from other organizations.
Well, that's certainly interesting to know. One of the things we like to do too on our show, and I certainly want to ask you while you're here, is that we try and, I guess, connect with our audience, ways that they can get involved, with defending their rights, with whatever liberty issues they're concerned with. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What was your path on this? How did you get involved with this organization? How did it start? And what are some of the challenges you face?
Sure. So in 2007, late 2007, my wife and another couple, we were out in the desert on federal land, and we were camping and off-roading and shooting and, doing nothing illegal, doing everything right, cleaning up after ourselves. We were in an area that was okay to shoot and off-road in. And a law enforcement officer harassed me, is really what happened. He came and was ready to arrest me over a pump action shotgun that he said was illegal. And when I showed him, that he was wrong, very politely and professionally, that no, my shotgun was completely and totally legal. The attitude, I guess, towards what we were doing is if we were doing something wrong rather than doing something that I felt more people should be doing. The fact that he was ready to arrest me, even though I had a conversation with him afterwards and found out, I was being very polite and nice and everything. I certainly didn't want to harass this guy back or, bow my chest or, whatever. I mean, this guy had the upper hand. He's a federal agent. He could have arrested me. So I didn't want to, be rude or whatever. I didn't want to, play on this guy's emotions. I was very polite, professional, and friendly. And come to find out, he was a gun guy, and he actually came to that same chunk of land with his friends and did the same thing and didn't agree with the laws that he didn't understand and was ready to arrest me over. And that was heartbreaking. I can't put it any other way. It was not just, it didn't just make me angry. It wasn't just inconvenient. It was an emotional experience that this guy was, all it took for him to sell his principles down the road was a government check. That's all it took. So I went back and told coworkers and friends what had happened to me over the weekend, and their attitude was disheartening as well. I kind of got this, well, what were you doing out there with guns? And I thought, having fun. Why weren't you out there with me with guns? That whole thing, I knew right then and there, things have to change. And I jumped in with both feet. I got involved. The NRA had some local meetings. joined their group, joined the Republican Party, joined a bunch of different campaigns, and just got as involved in politics as I possibly could. Did some things right, did some things, wrong, made some mistakes, learned from the mistakes. And then back in about 2017, got together with some others and said, hey, we're going to start an organization. We're going to start a Second Amendment organization that basically that has the same traits, has the same characteristics as some of the other political organizations in town, but we focus on the Second Amendment. Back when we started, all the organizations that were really making things happen when it comes to public policy were really just focused on tax policy. And that's fine. But there are a lot of people that don't get all charged up about tax policy. They do get charged up over their civil rights. And there were a lot of gun owners who said, you know what, Republicans aren't doing anything. We had one party that took us for granted, the Republican Party, and we had another party that thought we were evil, the Democratic Party. And then we had the Libertarian Party that was completely ineffective and did absolutely nothing of any kind for anybody. I mean, it was the San Diego Libertarian Party, at least at the time, was a book club. They'd get around and, in a meeting, and 6 or 7 of them would, talk about some book they read, and there's a lot of hand wringing, and then they'd all go home. So I decided, you know what, we have to do something here. So we pulled, different characteristics from these other groups, which involved money and people. They're the only two tools you have in politics are money and people. If you have great ideas and you have no money and no people, they don't get implemented. If you have horrible ideas and you have a ton of money and people, you turn into California. They get implemented. So we decided, you know what, that's what we're going to emphasize. We're going to have a full-time staff. We're going to get as many people as members as we can. We're going to raise as much money as we can. We're going to have a budget to help politicians directly get involved, get elected, I should say. And that was the basic idea, but then a lot of things came of it. We turned into the Second Amendment community. So anytime media has to, needs a comment, they'd go find the weirdest looking person they could find, and they would ask him some complicated political question, and whatever his answer was, they'd put it on the 6 o'clock news. And now they have a professional source that gives thoughtful answers, who understands, the nuance, and can sit down and explain to them and their viewers why things are good or bad. So that came about. Orange County and Inland Empire, that's Riverside and San Bernardino County, saw what we were doing. We expanded into those counties. So there's Orange County gun owners and Inland Empire gun owners. We found out that, people would make it to 40, 50 years old and never have touched a gun. So we do these educational shooting socials where we teach adults how to shoot a gun for the first time. So, and we have a women's program called Not Me. If you're a woman in San Diego or Orange County or Inland Empire, and you want to purchase a firearm, you need training on a firearm, or you want to get a carry permit, contact us and we will provide all of the above by assigning a volunteer who's also a woman to you. And she will help you. She'll get you to a store and show you how to buy a gun. She'll find training for you. She'll help you fill out the application to get a carry permit. And if any of that is cost prohibitive, we'll find a discount or a grant. And I got to tell you, the thing I am most proud of with this organization is we're no nonsense, roll up our sleeves and get the job done. There's not a lot of pontificating and complaining and we're not a book club. We find a problem and we get people and money and we solve it and we move forward. And we've had a lot of success in San Diego. We're very proud of that.
So, Michael, in terms of getting people in place, getting elected, and getting people in place, where people, decision makers, I guess, and getting and all that, how successful do you think your organization has been?
As far as getting people elected, very successful. We've gone through. So we started in sorry guys, 2015, end of 2015. So we had the 2016, the 2018, the 2020, and and we're halfway through the 2022 cycle. And I'm proud to say that the vast majority of people we've endorsed have won. That's important. Kind of a direct victory. In fact, the lady that we endorsed for sheriff, she got as many votes as the next two people combined in the June election, and we're going to help her in November. So we've been really successful. Then there's kind of this secondary level of success too. So, and what I mean by that is because we have the ability to get people elected or unelected, we've had some policy victories. So what I mean by that is, we fought really, really hard. We were the first group and the only group really to fight to get carry permits in San Diego. For decades, you could not get a concealed carry permit in San Diego. We fought it. We fought hard. And if we didn't have people and money, nobody would have cared. But they did care because they knew that, hey, we could have a real effect in the election. And so, boom, the sheriff changed his policy. And now, for the first time in decades, you can get a permit, a California carry permit in San Diego. There have been a couple other of examples of people that we got elected. For example, the city of La Mesa, there was a special election last November, and we got a lady elected named Laura Lothian. And I mean, we just absolutely stomped the competition. We helped her. We went all in on her. We got her elected. And then a few months later, one of her colleagues on the La Mesa City Council tried to pass a requirement that if you had a gun in La Mesa, you had to keep it locked up, even in your home. And we defeated that thanks to her. So, we've been very successful, and I'm very, very happy about that. It's not just a political and public policy change. We don't want everything. We've taken some lumps. We've gotten, taken some losses, but we've won some major victories. So we're not just changing public policy, but we're also changing the culture in San Diego, and both are very important.
Well, Michael, we're getting near the end of the show. Is there a message you'd like to leave our listeners with, regarding your organization or things they can do to get involved?
Yeah, the big message, and the one that resonates with people the most, is if you're frustrated, if you're watching the news or reading the internet and you can't believe this or that is happening, and you're tired of just being on the sidelines, and you think that politics is complicated, or you don't know what to do, or you don't want to go to a rally or a protest or whatever, come talk to us. If you want to dedicate a few hours a month or whatever to be effective and really truly have a change in public policy and in politics, and of course, if you're pro Second Amendment, come talk to San Diego County gun owners. Membership's super easy. It's $10 a month or $100 per year. At the very least, become a member. But come join our organization. Give us a few months, and we'll get you involved and show you how to do effective Second Amendment activism that isn't intimidating. People think, well, gee, they're going to make me go give a talk in front of 1,000 people. No, that's just the stuff you see in movies and on TV. There's a lot of really effective things that we need done that are super easy to do, from social events. Like we just had our big Second Amendment celebration dinner. We had 750 people at this dinner. We had 20 or so volunteers that helped us run this dinner, and that's effective activism. It helps us raise money. But anyway, get a hold of us and we'll help you get involved. We'll show you. We make activism easy.
Well, thanks so much, Michael. And this has been Michael Schwartz from the San Diego County Gun Owners. And thanks to all of you for joining us again for Knuckleheads of Liberty. And until next week, or until next time, rather, stay free.
Indeed.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Jim.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Find us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, your favorite podcast network, and at knuckleheadsofliberty.com.